Hi everyone, yes, so good morning. Welcome to a stunning new Monday, yes. And yes, Rabia Elise here with our discussion today of leading this generation. With the season that we are in, we are excited to once again remind ourselves that we are not going to be discouraged by the challenge of our season, right? It is that opportunity that we have to remind ourselves that we are not going to not be part of the season, right? It is that opportunity that we get being human beings and saying that, you know what, this is all that it is, that all that we have been introduced to is that represents human beings on this earth and every part of the universe concerning us, right? It is that we say that we are not going to disregard our importance of being here on earth, right? Our importance of being part of such an amazing season that we could not have been part of it, right? I always believe that those who are with us, and those who are no more are also with us, right? It is that we have learned that our generation had something to say. They had something concerning themselves, right? And while they had that they wanted to voice concerning themselves, right? The voicing part of what we really allowed ourselves to represent in season became loud, right? It became that we all wanted to say it. We all wanted to be there, right? We were like rugby players on the rugby field that said, you know what? I have nothing else to say rather than I want to be there. I want to be part of this. I want to appear. And then it's like the rugby game got a bit challenging, right? Because we learned that we all was there. We were all on the rugby field, but we were all wanting to have our voice heard, right? And some of us really found themselves in a challenged way that they wanted to represent, but they were also challenged a lot with having to be there, right? With that requirement to appear. And when it comes to the leadership in the season, with leading our generation, we have learned that not only our leadership are leaders in our season, but we are all leaders with where we find ourselves at. It is that my light goes off and on the whole time. So if it goes off, you're gonna have to allow me to get it on again. But while we are at it, we are in a season that the light dump, right? So my light is gonna dump because it's been dumping for quite some time, but there's nothing wrong with the bulb itself, right? But what I want to say with the globe itself, but what I want to say is that while we are in a season that the light dump and the light goes on and off, we are required to say that, you know what, I'm not gonna be challenged by voicing what I have to voice, even if the light goes off, even if the season is challenged, even if I'm challenged within the season, even if they say this about me, even if they do that concerning me, even if I'm required to be there and people say that we knew you in this way and now we have learned that your story is in this way, right? It is that people say that we do not know who Rabia is anymore, but what we can say is that this is how it is in our season, right? And that is where we need to find ourselves at. It is that our leadership in the season are going to be crowded and surrounded with so much information, right? So much that they have to respond to it, so much that they have to find themselves in leading, right? It is that there was lots happening. There was corruption, there was abuses, there was that you cannot call that person a leader, but then we learned that the light dumps sometimes, and then are you not going to listen on that day that Rabia's light goes off, and that Rabia's story is this, and the baby is the baby, and then we say, but we are all babies, and then we say, but when there's a baby in danger and another person recognizes it, and that person would respond, right? That person would say that we need to be in that is the responsive mindset, the responsive attitude, the responsive requirement and reaction of our generation. It is that when Rabia Elise takes a photo, the photo looks like this today, and they edit the photo in this way today, and we learn that such is our generation. They look like different faces on a different day. And many times human beings themselves educate their story in that way, that yes, today I stand and I look like this, but tomorrow I am that, what are you gonna say? Because I am gonna appear in front of you tomorrow. So are you gonna disregard the fact that I do appear and tell me that you do not remember me because I appear in this way, because my hairstyle is in that way, because my photo was that, and you do not understand my photo, and therefore you want to deprive me while I'm standing in front of you? It is that our generation has to say to one another in this season. It is that I'm standing in front of you, that I am there, that I have been born to be there, that I call myself baby 22nd 11, baby Rabia Elise, born on the 22nd of November. And in 2022, it was all that, right? All that with everything else that came along with it. But baby Rabia said, I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna appear because I was born to be there. And then they said, but baby Rabia, your story is challenging to me. And then I say to you who have heard my story, you have heard my story. But to me who is walking my season, I'm walking my season. And then what are you gonna say that day? Because I'm saying this, right? It is that leadership and that our generation and that humanity has to find themselves in the walk that we take. It is that we say we're not going to argue about it because we're not aggressive about it. We have learned that people of color is not only black and white, right? People of color is every attitude, every reaction of our generation, everything that we represent as mankind, the stunning colors in the universe. Every color is different. Every color has got its own voice. Every color speaks for itself. Every color appears in its own strength, in its own requirement, in its own way, right? And it is that when you look at the color, you affirm with yourself with that. It is that some people say that I'm blind, but I cannot see. But the only thing that I can see is a color in front of me. I remember I was working at Nibblebits, and there was someone who were married to a blind man, right? And I learned the story in the office, right? It was one of the office people. And while we were in office, we learned that this is the story. And we learned that this person find herself happy with the blind man, right? She find herself in marriage, and she's got nothing, regret, nothing concerning where she find herself at in life. And I learned that our generation has yet got so much education to do, because for me to hear that someone is married to someone that can't see and that doesn't know who they are married to, it was to me a questioning situation, right? Where I had to affirm myself in the office in listening intently to the story. And while I was working, the office work is never only a daily job. It is that we say that, you know what, there's something about this office that echoes concerning our generation, that the office managers, the office CEOs are those people that leads in our generation. We have not learned to understand how the system, how the process works concerning mankind on earth, right? That when there's a challenge in our season, we learn that there's a requirement for people to lead, and we learn that we get that leadership sometimes in the office environment, sometimes between everyday people, sometimes between people that are in the daily community lives, in the daily households. And then we learn that the office also plays such an important role. So how can we now say, because we are now only in the community, that it cannot be the office team that leads our generation in one season, right? It is that we say that we have learned that the office team of some organization leads our generation this year, and we are not going to deprive them with the choices that they make concerning us this year. And it is that we have learned that our generation has been saying that, we know what, there's something that's called the New World Order, and there's some manipulation concerning it. But Rabia Elise wants to say today to those who hear in and who listens into this discussion, that there's a requirement for us to be led, right? And when we are required to be led, we affirm ourselves with listening to how is it that we are going to be led in this season. That no, we're not disregarding anyone, but when it is a certain office, when our generation are being led in a process, then a New World Order sounds so much different to me, right? To some people, they try to manipulate that others called a New World Order, that others said, let's have different teams lead our generation in certain times in our countries, right? When it comes to certain decisions that governments made, when it comes to a voice that is now not only a parliamentary leader's voice in the parliamentary house, but it is now the voice from an office that found themselves behind, right? An office that led themselves into where they find themselves in the season, right? And then we learned that the New World Order sounds different to some people, world, but we're not going to allow ourselves to be manipulated by it. But while there's an office leading our generation, we allow ourselves to listen to that. That is leadership in everything that is us in our daily lives. It is that we said that we have had lots of arguments concerning things. We have lots of misunderstandings concerning how our generation finds themselves at. We have lots of questions concerning the poverty state of our generation. But while there's lots of questions, there's an opportunity for us to allow ourselves to be in that. That is going to be protective. That is going to be responsive for a generation. That when a tsunami strikes, there's that response before the tsunami strikes, right? Because we have learned that there's a storm once a year, right? We affirm ourselves with preparedness for that, right? And when I was working at Nibblebits, I always have to affirm myself and have to educate concerning my Nibblebits office environment. It was an opportunity that you have to allow yourself in the abundance and completeness of where the Nibblebits team have found themselves at in season. It is that our leadership in office was the European leaders, with the South African leaders, with the South African colored community in the offices. And then we were invited into office at regular times in order to introduce ourselves, right? And we had that opportunity to not be deprived because of where you come from, right? Your voice was welcomed into the management meetings. I remember when the manager said to me that we want you to be the health and safety officer. I said that, you know what, I don't understand the manipulation concerning it, but what I do here is that you are requiring me to be there in your office and in your meeting, right? And I remember not arguing because I thought manipulation might be there, because if I'm health and safety officer and something goes wrong, then it's on me, right? But I allowed myself to be in the currentness of my requirement to respond to that. That is me in my season. And that is where our generation would once again learn to not argue everything away, but to learn to allow ourselves to listen to what is it that our generation are truly saying within the season. It is that we all find ourselves with that. That is an opportunity. That is that I expect from myself, and that is that's going to be my everyday choice, right? I said that I had the opportunity to grow up with 3 different principals, right? 3 different school principals. At New Orleansville, I had the opportunity to be introduced to Principal Varys, right? And Principal Varys had his way of educating and of leading our team, our children, the school, the teachers at New Orleansville, right? And I was in there at New Orleansville in that our generation went through a challenge, right? But we were never introduced to the international side of our generation, right? But our leaders at that time had to be protective and firm with the ways that they led our schools and the teachers and the things that happened concerning our generation that were voiced, and that I was not too young to understand that such is the colors of our generation. I remember how excited I used to be when we had our seasons changes at New Orleansville, right? And the New Orleansville primary school team would go outside and we would enjoy the spring season. We would enjoy being introduced to the blossoming of it. We would be enjoying being introduced to how our teachers educate us, right? We were introduced to the different ways of understanding and listening and learning that everyone in our classroom, in our schools is gonna be different, right? And I remember that those years in Chicago, South Africa, that we were required to learn that our young boys are gonna be different, that our young boys are sometimes gonna be challenged, right? And that not everyone is gonna be in that they're gonna be in the education room while they are in the education room, right? But while they are not currently in the education room and they are there, they are visible to be in the class, but we have learned that their challenges in life has had them to respond in a different way. And then we told ourselves, are our young boys now dumb in our generation, or are they just maybe speaking and saying something else? And on that day and during this season, I have learned that we were all current in the classroom. We were all there to be there. We were all being educated and educating in our season, but we were all required to be in that is gonna be a protective and fine for ourselves. And I remember how Team New Orleansville teachers led the school, the requirement to educate a group of children that now come from different households, from different sides of communities. There was gangsterism those years in Chicago, and there was lots of things happening, lots of things that we were surrounded with. But the way that the teachers led our team was in that we were reminded to constantly appear. We were educated to appear and to be there. We were educated to not be challenged by what is happening around us. We were educated to not be scared by the challenges that came along with everyday life. And I remember how the teachers really introduced that people of color into New Orleans Vale School those years. And I'm very proud to say that the young boys, that when they didn't want to read, when they didn't want to study, when they didn't want to do nothing, then there was a Mr. Stoneman, right? And Mr. Stoneman took them into the woodwork class. And Mr. Stoneman was not challenging on them, right? Mr. Stoneman was like, this is woodwork, and if you can do this, then this class is not gonna be making you paranoid for what you do not want to do and what you do not want to agree with in your season. Because I, Mr. Stoneman, he says, did not understand your season. And the way that he educated when we were in the classroom, and when I look at the young boys, I learned that the boys were happy. They found themselves in that is protector for them, and they did not go out of school because there were teachers that made them feel that, you know what, I am in the classroom and my teacher doesn't know my circumstances, but he sometimes says that, you know what, I might look like the teacher today, but I understand you because I'm a fellow human being. And that is where sometimes our generation needs to find themselves at. I remember that when I changed New Orleans Vale School, when my mama Anna moved to Groenewald, and then we were required, me and my brother Anton were required to then go and to different schools, right? And we were still in a primary school level. And I remember moving from Chicago, and brother Anton was very firm in saying that, you know what, this is it for me. I feel that New Orleans Vale was the school, and I have learned what was required for me in my season. I am not gonna now go and have myself now in a different school that I know myself. I do not want to agree with some things in this world, even though I can't say it with the words today. With what is happening in our generation was visible. Even with our young youth, our young children knew exactly why they didn't want to read, knew exactly why they didn't want to go to school. They knew exactly why they didn't want to speak in the classroom. They knew exactly why they were a bit aggressive sometimes, because there was a leadership way that needs to be corrected. And our boys said until that day, we are not gonna agree with what doesn't feel fine and protective for us, because New Orleans Vale is New Orleans Vale. And I therefore require and would want us to understand our young boys in this season, that they are not there to be aggressive. They are not there to say that they don't agree with what we do. They are not even dumb in this season. They've got a different way of voicing what they are voicing in this season. And we therefore do not disregard anyone, but while they are appearing, while they are there, have been born to be there, they voice their season in a different way. So let our communities not abuse them. Let our communities not say that they are against us. Let our communities not say that they do not agree with the ways of managing in the season. But let our communities understand to listen even to them, because even they are voicing and leading a generation, and our generation in season. And that is where we want to be at. We're having to learn that there was a requirement for a group of leaders to lead in a way that they protect these boys. And those group of leaders, we call and we say that they were mafias, and they had to protect the young boys in somewhat way. And the young boys then found themselves in drugs, in abuse, in all the things that comes along with the lifestyle of mafias. And the young boys then learned that they also want to do that these guys are doing. And then they were challenged in it, because it was not fine for everyone to do what someone else is doing, because a drug is not going to be fine on you, even though it is fine on the next person. It is that our young boys had to learn for themselves, what is it that you feel fine with today? What is it that is protective for you today? What is it that is going to be that is not going to break you down today? It is that there was a group of leaders that was there for our young boys to say that you are my boy. I'm not going to give up on you because the school has given up on you, but I'm going to be there in the community 100%, making sure that you are fine, because there's differences in our generation. There's different ways of leadership, and while our generation yet are not around one table to say that this is the leader for the young boys, this is the leader for the educated person, this is the leader for the office team, this is the leader for our everyday community person who is not in school, this is the leader for the woman today. While we have not yet have that table set today, we are there to say that we are prepared in season to receive it, what is meant for us. It is that our leaders are still arguing through this, our leaders are still still finding the way in how they are going to manage us. It is going to be fine for all of us. And while we are in that season, that we are preparing to be protective for one another, and not to fight one another, and not to be against the choices that we make, but to say that, you know what, someone else's 50,000 rand is maybe someone else's business. But then I also say that this earth belongs to all of us, because your business, we have learned, is your business. We have learned, yes, sorry to say it, Elon Musk, but your $200 billion meant a lot to me, Ruby Elise. And I wanted you to stay in Twitter because you came in, you were ready to start afresh with a new team that was not going to manipulate social media. You were ready to dismiss and say that, you know what, y'all are in Twitter, but y'all have had a salary. There's people out there that does not have a salary, and they didn't have a salary in years. And Elon Musk came into Twitter, and I was saying that I am honestly with Elon Musk in this choice that he has made. And the whole world says, Rabia Elise, but we are not with him because he has done this and that. And I said, I do not know Elon Musk, but I do voice for what is protective for our generation. That there's a bunch of people on social media that are sitting behind the scenes in offices that are constantly making our generation angry. That are constantly sifting information through on social media pages. And Elon Musk went into Twitter and said, I'm not agreeing with that. There is this office today. We require this office in our generation to be different. We require this office in our generation to not tell us that they own a house and a car to be paid for, but we require this office in Twitter to learn that there's people in Africa, in Syria, in Afghanistan, in poverty countries that does not have a word to say, that does not have something to do, and they can also enter our office today. And our generation did not understand Elon Musk's voice in season, what he was trying to say with leading his Twitter team in a different way that a generation would not normally agree with. Because according to a generation, these people's salaries, these people's houses, these people's cars, these people's lifestyles, these people's ways of managing. And Elon Musk says, when I look at these people in these offices, I somehow dismiss 3,000 of them today because 10,000 of them die on any day in this world. And no one cares, and no one changes the office, and no one wants to do nothing. And everyone in the office and on television were angry with Elon Musk's choice, and they chased him out, and they took $200 billion from him. We do not care what they have taken from him, but we have learned to listen to what he had to say, with where he was, and with the statement that he came to make in Twitter room. I don't know how everyone listens in our generation, but this is how Rabia Elise listens, and this is where I find myself in our season. It is that we say that we are sorry for those who own houses and cars, but there's people who are going through challenges. There's abuses on social media. There's sometimes going to be a change in our generation that requires us to respond differently, that requires us to affirm ourselves to that is going to be protective for our generation. So Elon Musk, we have to say that we honor you and appreciate you for that choice, for that voice that you have voiced so loudly, that we cannot say that you didn't say it, that we cannot say that you did not stand up for us, that we cannot say that you meant something else with it, that we cannot say that you were involved with anything else, because I do not know what you were involved with. But what I can say is that you are a fellow human being, and today for me, a fellow human being looks different. They look like this, they look like Antichrist, they look like the church pastor, they look like the bankrupt person, they look like corruption, they look today like the people in South Africa that says to Cyril Ramaphosa that we do not care how old you are today, but we threw you out of the office on the 23rd of March because you have stolen from us. And then the very person that says it is Julius Malema, who's the very person that abuses South Africa in so many corruptions, who's the very teams of people that says to the colored people in South Africa that you are not fine to be part of South Africa, that says to the very white people in South Africa that you are not fine to be there because you have abused us, is the very thing that they do to Cyril Ramaphosa today, who have stand up for our generation and who said during the apartheid years that I'm going to stand up and I'm going to voice. And even though Cyril knew that it was challenging for him while he was in his youth to be part of the ANC team, that we say, Cyril Ramaphosa, your season is the season. I do not care what South Africa tells me about corruption. I do not care how South Africa could have managed your bank account in a different way. I do not hear today the corruption in our season. I hear today that there was a generation in our season, a Nelson Mandela team that came to voice for the very reason that Elon Musk voiced in his season. I hear today that our generation listens differently, but our generation are required to respond to that is not going to be abusive to someone else, because we all are corruptive. We all are abusing one another. We all are manipulating manipulative in somewhat way. We all are depriving one another the next day. So how can we now go and abuse the elder in our house? That is our President Cyril Ramaphosa. How can we now tell our team Nelson Mandela that those years in 1993, 1994, we were excited, but these years in 2023, we tell you that we do no longer want to hear you. We do no longer want to listen to you. And we tell you like this in this whole world. How is it then that we lead? How is it then that we find ourselves at tomorrow? How is it then that we are, how is it then that we are going to be the next day after that? If we're just gonna shift presidencies one day, we're just gonna smack them the next day, we just want to abuse them on television, and the whole world have got to see how we treat this person. He is an elder. He has made choices. So has all of us. We have a better way to do things rather than abusing where we find ourselves at in leadership seats, leading this generation. Let us not be abusive to that. That is the voice of apartheid, the voice that have freed a generation that still finds themselves in apartheid today. Then Cyril Ramaphosa has one question to our generation. Then what does apartheid mean to us in our season? Then I say to Team Nelson Mandela, to Team ANC, that South Africa did not yet say we appreciate that y'all have done for us. Let South Africa say it in a better way. Let the world say some way today that you know what, a way to someone seems right, but a way to Rabia Elise today is that to Julius Malema it meant that he's humiliating the ANC, and he's humiliating an elder in the house, and he's humiliating a fellow African person. He's humiliating someone because he has done the same. Let Rabia educate our generation today to say that we appreciate you, ANC. You have not disappointed us. You have built your own houses and builded ours in the meantime. We appreciate even that. Even though we didn't have a cent in our bank accounts, we are here today to say, yes, a lot has happened concerning the season, but we have learned a lot concerning our generation. Because if you have not corrupted the House of Parliament, then we would have not have known that the South African is not the South African in South Africa, but the South African are being managed by an international person. We have not have known today that there's international people that deprives us of our house, and Cyril Ramaphosa has to steal money out of his bank account and out of the South African bank account to say that this is what happens in our generation. I cannot say this to you with words because you would not understand me, because these people might put my family in danger, but I say this to you by taking this money out of this bank account to say that the South Africa are being challenged today by leaders that want to lead South Africa from an international country. And therefore we say, Cyril Ramaphosa, we appreciate what you have said. We appreciate you voicing it in your own way. We cannot say that you have not been there for us, because you and your team have been there for us 100. We say, President late Nelson Mandela, we say that we honor our leaders in season. We are not gonna disregard you. You said it, we say it, we all say today that this is our freedom season, that you had to be there, Cyril Ramaphosa, because the world finds themselves in a season that are being challenged, and the world finds themselves in another apartheid era. And if Cyril Ramaphosa has not been on that seat today, and the world looks like this, then the voice in season would have been different, because we would not have been reminded of the apartheid era that the world went through. And we say today that South Africans, the world are looking upon South Africa today to listen not to what they hear of someone, but to look at with the eyes of what is visible to them, what they sense within themselves concerning this person, not what they want to hear concerning this person, but what you feel fine with when you hear that this is Cyril Ramaphosa, this is our leader. He is a leader that took us through a season. How would he have been abusing us? How would he have abused us? I don't care what you tell me today that he has done this and that. I tell you that he took us through a season, and the generation internationally has to learn that when people take us through a season, it is sometimes not going to be glossy and gloomy. It is sometimes not going to be perfect, because nothing in Africa is perfect today. The poverty state is still in Africa. A generation was still trying to get Africa out of the poverty state. We are still sitting in a season where we are walking through, and we are not going to abuse one another while we say that we are all here, that we all have been part of it, that he said it, I said it, I wear the color, he has had the color on. And today, Rabia Elise say, let us not abuse one another. Let us learn to know how we listen in that is meant for every one of us. Let us not make an argument where there is no argument. Let us not disagree when we are actually saying the same thing in a different way. But let us learn to listen in this season to what it is that every one of us has to say in our seasons. And yes, well, with saying that, we want to also focus on when we listen in our season, when we listen to what is happening around us, how do we listen with not listening, with being angry, right? We have learned to sometimes find ourselves in an environment, and when you are in that environment, you sometimes listen differently because you sometimes want to listen in a different way. You sometimes listen with that is sometimes not going to be fine for someone else, right? You sometimes listen with that is sometimes not going to be that someone else wants you to listen at. The blind man listens with the innerness of how he senses within himself, right? It is that he say that I cannot listen how you listen today. I cannot listen with what you say today. It is that we say that our disabled people are not even yet in our offices. We have so much disabled people on this earth and being human beings, and they are not yet on the television. There's not yet one television station that is only that speaks for that is also meant for them, right? And that is that we say that we are not gonna disagree and say that these people are not part of us. We're gonna say that they are people, they are with us, right? They are meant to be there, and we are not gonna argue them away. It is that the colors of our generation, we're moving through, we are saying what we have to say, but we want everyone to be there. We want everyone to be appreciated with where they are at, and to not be abused when they have to say it, right? To not be manipulated when they are voicing, because difference to you means something else, but difference to Mama Universe is all that is being visible and all that we are today. It is that we say we are all different, we are all amazing, we are all precious, and we are all uniquely to be there in the currentness of where Mama Universe requires us to be at in our seasons. It is that we say that seasons are there to teach us that we cannot deprive one another. We cannot say that this one did this and we do not really know what they have done. That we are no longer we have an argument with someone because another country has an argument. We are no longer gonna implement the process that we do not know what is happening. I have learned that the 23rd of March really speaks of a lot that people are trying to do. It also reminds me of something that might be another apartheid season for our generation. It reminds me that apartheid is now not only what we saw apartheid as black and white, but apartheid today means that people in different households only sometimes want it for themselves. And therefore, while leading this season, we believe that our leaders in the house would be there to say that they are not going to disregard someone because of what someone else requires them to say, that they are not going to disregard someone else from being there with leading our generation. They are not going to disregard someone because they look different, because they speak different, because they are different way, because they have abused us those years, because they were the white and we were the black. But we are going to allow our generation to once again learn and where we find ourselves at in the currentness of what is being voiced concerning us. It is that we say that we lead, therefore, with that requirement to appear, with that response that is when the tsunami was there last year and the storm was there last year. My preparedness plan this year is to be there before the tsunami strikes, right? It is that I cannot say that I did not know. I cannot say that we did not prepare the countries before the time. It is that the finances are there, and the preparedness is that leadership team that lead us in our season, that we do not deprive them, that we do not argue with them, that everyone will have their opportunity to lead our generation, but we are not gonna now argue because we say that this leadership team wants to lead us the whole season through and whole generations through. It is that we say that every year we might have a different leadership team. We do not know how the house are being structured during the season, but while the lights go a bit dim in our season, while the lights go a bit off in our season, let us not argue about what we do not know. Let us not go and manipulate when we realize that people are busy somewhere, but let us learn to be protective to where we find ourselves at, a generation that is in that we call people of color. It It is that color reaction. It is that color that is protective. It is that color that does not deprive the next. It is that color that the one day Rabia said this and I was angry with her, but the next day she stands in front of me and I say that you are here today. I cannot be angry because of yesterday. I can maybe say that I did not like the things that you have said yesterday, because in our generation what you said yesterday can lead to this, it can lead to that, it can lead to this and that, but I am going to say I'm not going to fight what you said yesterday, because today I learned to listen differently in what you meant when you said it yesterday. It is that we are all speaking. We are speaking in different ways. We're sometimes being controlled by so much and we don't realize it, and then we are sometimes aggressive to the other and we don't realize it, and the next day you get up and you say, yo, but this person said this yesterday and this person did that yesterday, and then someone said in a season we're all gonna have to put the guns away, and they said, but what is the guns, because I do not have a gun on me. And then a generation learns that it is that you sometimes get angry, it is that you sometimes get abusive, it is that you sometimes oppress the next person, it is that you sometimes go and abuse and say and manipulate the situation. Our guns is anything that stirs our generation that is not protective for us, and that is why in the season let us remind ourselves that even the gun that are with people, that we have learned that there was a team of people, a team of employees that were required to have guns. Those are our police people, our army people, our people that finds themselves in different offices, in different jobs today. And then there was people in everyday life that also had the gun. And then we learned, but the gun goes along with the machine on earth, that when you have a gun in your pocket, the machine beeps somewhere else on this earth. And our generation cannot have had all the information, but when the gun beeps in your pocket, then there's another part of the universe that comes. There's another part of the universe that comes and that tells you that this has beeped now, and then you react without realizing how you react in your season. Then you react without realizing that this is now going to require you to respond. And then the gun and the object that you have in your pocket, you learn that is that there's a beep, and the beep goes off and the community goes chaotic, and everyone says that we have heard the beep, but not in person. But the beep machine is on earth, and our generation didn't know about it. That's why we have educated in New Zealand that while we go through this challenging season, we want the guns to be put away, because people get angry, the beep machine goes off, and people goes out and run out with the gun on the streets, right? And it is that the trained guys were meant to have the guns, and now the guns find themselves for a reason in the communities so that no one abuses no one. But then there was a system that the people that were trained to have the gun or the weapon was now the people that names was there on the system, that when the beep goes off, there's exactly that response that is going to be protected for that person. But now when the guns are not in people's hands, that is, names are not on the system, and the technology and everything is not now accurate, then we have to put that away. That is maybe sometimes going to be misinterpreted by something in the universe or by someone else. It is those processes that we did not understand what guys were doing, and they were not really in control of themselves sometimes. But it is just that they sometimes said, but we also needed to have this for a reason that is going to be protected for us in our seasons. And while we are at this, we have a lot concerning our generation that we have not yet been educated about. But let us learn to not be aggressive with misunderstanding one another or the other. Yes, I have Dorian in the room, my husband in the room today, and I'm speaking a bit loud. So while I get a bit loud, I am in that I want us to not disregard what I have said, but to make time to listen. And when our countries are being led, I want everyone to learn to listen what was really happening in our generation. Where was the misunderstanding? According to Rabia Elise, not according to someone else, because Rabia Elise can only say what she sends and what she has learned concerning our generation. That is the voice of, yes, Mama Anna Martha, the daughter, baby daughter, Mama Anna Martha, 1969 years, the earthquake of Tulbagh, when Mama Anna found herself in Paul community, and Nelson Mandela and Cyril Ramaphosa, them went out of the apartheid era, and they were released out of Witwatersrand prison, and we were staying in Chicago those years, and Mama Anna's mother came from Johannesburg, and Mama Anna was born, in California those years, and Mama Anna then found herself in Paul community, and Nelson Mandela, them's team was in Paul community, released in that same year that we were in Chicago. Yes, the Rugby World Cup 1994, the same season in Brother Martin was 1969, baby, and we're excited for the Mama Anna story. And while we are still in the season, we learn to know how to listen while the universe are echoing concerning the protectiveness of the baby in our season. Brother Martin then went through a challenge years when he was 21 years old. He was in an accident years. He is a bit disabled, but he is still fine today. And he's still the baby that said that, you know what? I had the accident, but 1994 and freedom is freedom. And my mama Anna is a freedom walker herself. And Brother Martin today is 54 years old, yes. And he was at 21 years old in the accident, and his whole career changed. But we honor our Brother Martin also in our season, because he's the baby that was 6 months old with the Tilburg earthquake in 1969. And today he's 54 years old, and he says, you know what? I walk this earth the way I walk it. It has been challenging for me with understanding that I was born in this way, but I'm required to be there, and that my voice is my voice, and my sisters and my family are listening even to my education in season. And today our brother, yes, in the season, not today, it is not his birthday today, but he's 54 years old during this time. And yes, for 30 years after the accident, he has been fine and well. And we want to, honestly, I always say I want to honor PAL community, because they really embraced our Brother Martin. When they saw we did not understand our brother, they were there to say, Brother Martin, we are there 100 to say we care for you and we are not against you. Yeah, you know, that is that we call that community, that protective environment, that when the sisters cannot do anything, when the finances are not there, then the community is 100 there to say that it might look sometimes that people are against one another, that we are never against one another, that it is never an argument, but we sometimes listens and reacts in a different way. It is that we say that when Julius Malema and his team walked out on the 23rd of March, yes, I see that Julius Malema, I posted something on my page of his New Orleans school colors, and my primary school colors is wearing that, the maroon school colors. But I want to say that while they are preparing, let the South African team listen to what other changes that they are making in the House of South Africa, rather than just depriving our South African fellow people of where they are meant to be, of being fine in their country, right? Of having that is also meant for them, right? Of having the house to stay in. It is that we say that it is for all of us, and that this world is for all of us, that no one can disregard the other. And therefore, that is it for me for today with people of color. Let us not disregard one another, but let us learn to say that we are all leaders. We don't know it sometimes, but someone is listening from you. And while our leaders are going to discuss through these arguments, and while they are really deciding on how to lead our generation, we really hope and believe that they will not be arguing with one another, but that they would learn to know how to listen to one another, rather than listening from that there is an argumentative mindset, that we all are saying it, that we all are not against one another, but that we all are having to make time to listen to what is it that the other has to say. And if we learn that the situation are dangerous, then we learn to say that, you know what, in a way that is not abusive, I say that this situation to me might be abusive, and I might not agree with it because of this or this reason, but that is where we are required to be at, that we were never against one another, but we were required to listen to what is it that we all had to say. That is it for us for today, for the season. That is it for our people of color season, for our television leaders, yes, that prepares the television programs. Let us be reminded on our television screens of the generations before, right, of our parents' channels and the programs that were playing, and how the community really looked during those years. Because I believe that there's a lot of Google-ins that they can really prepare films for us to really, and they can put some of those films on the television again for us to really remind us of that season that was a calm season of our generation. I always firmly believe that you never leave people behind, but you allow their generation's information to even be on television channels during this season and during every season. I also am reminded today that 100 years is 100 years, right? And our generation, 100 years, within the 100 years, there's that we do not disregard the information. So when we prepare a television program, we still need to implement that. That was maybe 40 years ago, 50 years ago, television programs. And we need to have one channel that plays that every day. It is that we say we make way in a way that is respectful, because that is what it means. It means sometimes that you make way not by disregarding that there was a generation that educated us, but while while we are in a generation that are changing, and while we are in a generation that finds themselves in different colors and that understand the different colors in season, we educated even by including the generations that were before us on our television screens. It is that we say that with people of color this year, we're going to focus on how to lead, and leading is our television stations. That is where we find ourselves at most of our days. That is where we spend most of our time at many times. Social media, our television stations, in our communities, the education is everywhere. And therefore, let us learn to listen to what is it that our parents did those years that is going to be fine, that we need to implement even in this season, because we never disregard our elders. We never threw them out of office. We never do to settle what we wanted to do, right? We wanted to throw them out of office, maybe because of our own reasons, but let us never throw our elders out of office. Let us never throw them away, because you know what? They are part of us. They are every part. Mama Anna is every part of baby Rabia, Elise, of baby Martin today. Papa Yapi is every part of us. We cannot disregard our Mbatani family and the amazing story of Africa that we do not yet know about. And we're excited to learn about our family line and where they come from. Yes, we were going to discuss that in Stronger when we prepare this year's season of Stronger. We're going to discuss the importance of family and why it is important that we need to learn the voice of our generation is family. And family to Rabia, Elise, and Mama Anna's house looks different, because there's the yellow and green, there's the green and blue eyes. They call us the Oxford Greens and Oxford Blues of Mama Rita, them's family line. They call us that the one looks this and the other one is from Africa. They say that we look like there's someone there from China also in our family line. And then we say that all of those colors brings our generation together, and all of our colors is not just Mama Anna's family. No, it is all of us in our generation. But baby Rabia Elise explains the colors in season in a different way, in a way that says that my mama educated me this way, and I'm required to even respond this way. And my family from my papa's side came and said, but the children cannot forget us, because we are also part of them. And then Rabia has to learn to listen to a mama, to listen to the way that the upbringing was when Papa was there and Rabia was not baby born. Rabia was very young, and the children said, but Papa was this and that. And Rabia said, but I have not even had one photo of my Papa other than on the day that my mama was on a bed, and that my mama was on the last day of being on earth as a human being. And then on that day I had, during that last season, that was the only time that I ever saw a photo of my Papa, and someone brought the photo to the hospital. And while we are in that season of really learning about family and the parentness and the papaness, the importance of the men in the house, we're really preparing our discussion of Stronger that really reminds us of what does family mean to our generation. It is never that someone wants to be a celebrity. No, it is never that someone only wants to be famous. It is just that someone also has something to say sometimes. And that is what we're going to really discuss when we discuss Stronger, with what we prepare with Stronger, and what does family mean to the household of Mama Anna. Because yes, there's a lot of people that were tuned in on us and we did not realize it. And while we did not realize it, we are required to say that we are going to explain it in our own way, and how we understand our parenting in the house of Mama Anna, and what does family mean when we learn that this is our generation today. But there's a requirement to learn that Muslim and Christian was never an argument, but it was family that was introduced to one another. It was color that are being introduced to one another. And we will discuss that on Stronger. Yes, during this year, we're going to set a date, and we're going to share with all of y'all, what does this mean? The color of our generation means to the family of Mama Anna. And that is where we say Stronger. Yes, we are as a family. We've been through challenges that we cannot say that it did not really happen. We cannot say that we were not there, but we can say that we're going to say what we can say about Mama Anna's household, Mama Anna Martha's household, Mama Anna Yapi's household, yes, Mbakani Segila's household. And then they say the Philanderness. We do not know where the surname Philander came from, but they say it is surname today. Such is our family, but we will discuss that and stronger during this year. But for now, yes, I do not want to disrupt because I have always a lot to say, and that is what we are going to voice today, that we're not going to be saying that you are unprofessional when you say it in your own way. No, we're going to even still listen because such is family in our generation. That is all for today. Have a stunning, and amazing day further. God bless you.